Hi, I've clicked on to today's tropical tidbit for Friday over here in the Atlantic. We have 93L, which died over here, moving west-southwest with no convection whatsoever. Unfortunately, didn't bring any rain really to the North Gulf Coast over here, but at least Florida got some. But this is now basically off the map and nothing to worry about over here, just a low-level swirl slowly dissipating. Down here in the Caribbean, we have a broad area of low pressure elongated southwest to northeast over here, with the main area still east of Nicaragua, with an extension to the northeast now. Notice how the convection with it is still a little bit displaced off to the east. The upper level high pressure area is still displaced a little bit to the east of the system because things are still working out in the upper levels to bring that high a little bit farther west and continue lowering the wind shear, which is already a lot lower in this area than it was during the last few days. Notice that the convective area here is a little bit farther west than yesterday. It was over here, and it tried to scoot off to the east, but it didn't work out. There's a little bit of a mid-level swirl here from a convective complex that died last night. But again, the upper level winds are starting to bring this back around over here, and this will continue migrating west along with this area of low pressure, and eventually this entire area here should be filled out with clouds within a couple of days. If we switch over to the water vapor imagery, we can see the subtropical jet stream moving across over here. The upper low that we've been talking about that started this whole mess is backing west over the Gulf of Mexico, continuing to pull air out over here, and this is what's going to allow the jet stream to bulge upward over here and allow the upper ridge to build in stronger over the northwest Caribbean. And notice these clouds starting to come down on the north side of the image. This is an upper level trough coming off of the eastern seaboard that's going to be pressing down over here, and that's starting to flatten out these winds already in the subtropical jet stream. Eventually it will force the jet to be aimed more like this out of the west-northwest, forcing upper confluence aloft and taking away most of the instability in this region, allowing the thunderstorms to find a more divergent area aloft over here, and these will continue to rotate around, eventually consolidating this system a little bit more in here. The disagreement in the models is whether there's going to be anything to consolidate and whether thunderstorm activity will continue to be supported even if it does consolidate. This is the Canadian 300 millibar winds day 3. You can see there's an upper level low over the northwest Gulf of Mexico. There's an upper level high right over the northwest Caribbean. And when you have that set up with an upper low to the northwest ventilating the area, you can't really ask for better than that for early June. That's actually a pretty nice setup for the northwest Caribbean. You can't really ask for better than that. And it's interesting that the models have mostly dropped this system. In fact, the only model that still develops it this morning is the no-gaps, which I'll show you in a minute. Every other model, including the European, has dropped the system in general, keeps a broad low that eventually dissipates to nothing, and really doesn't support the idea of development that most of the models were just a couple of days ago. The models have been very back and forth with this system, and it's been very intriguing to watch because the setup is not all that bad over here. You can see the upper level setup is very classic and just about the best you can ask for during the month of June. Not only that, but the global tropical pattern, the MJO, is continuing to be favorable for this area of the world. Notice all the upward motion where it is. It's in the eastern Pacific moving into the Caribbean. It was all over here. It's migrating eastward. It's favoring the Caribbean more every day, and there's nothing much else going on in the rest of the global tropics. Most of the upward motion is focused here. It argues that if there's going to be any mischief, it's going to try here, and conditions are pretty favorable for it. Here is the no-gaps, the 6C run. The no-gaps wasn't developing this for several runs before this, and then it finally pops one out where it shows it's starting to deepen a little bit southwest of Jamaica by day 3, and then by day 6 there's a tropical storm making landfall in Cuba. And again, this no-gaps has been flaky along with every other model. The most consistent one was the UK Met, which showed development. The last couple runs have dropped that. So what we have is we have a situation where development of a broad elongated low pressure area is going to be favored by the upper pattern and the meteorological pattern for the next week or so. We have another week that we could still potentially be watching this, and a week is a long time. That could allow this to try to consolidate, but the models have dropped it, and when all the global models agree on dropping something like that, it has to be considered strongly, and that's probably why the NHC lowered the percent chance for this to 10% this morning, down from 20, and this is something that's going to have to be considered. However, the pattern favors it, so I still think it has a low chance, and it needs to continue to be watched. Hopefully it'll bring some rainfall over here to the Cayman Islands and folks that need it in the dry areas over here. People can hope for that right now. Development threat not serious in the near term, but still possible, I believe. As we head into this weekend and next week, especially next week, we're going to have to watch this to see if it tries to consolidate a little bit more in here under an upper pattern that is favorable. It is going to be favorable for a good chunk of time, so this will have to be watched closely over the next several days. But chances are fairly low at this point. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.